everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040, bringing to you another edition of the Wrestling Discussion Series. And February 21st, 2005 marks 20 years ago that history was made when Batista finally made his choice and decided to stay on Raw and challenge Triple H for the world title, thus becoming a babyface and turning on Evolution. And for today's special edition, I am going to be discussing the success and failures of Batista turning on Evolution. So, the seeds were quietly planted for Batista to turn on Evolution when Evolution turned on Randy Orton and kicked him out of the group the night after SummerSlam 2004. And Evolution was comprised of Triple H, Ric Flair, and Batista, thus leaving the group as a trio after removing Randy Orton. And during the whole fallout of Randy Orton getting kicked out of Evolution, Batista was 100% loyal to the faction and he fully supported Triple H and Ric Flair. So around this time, there were no indications of Batista turning on Evolution. So for the most part, Evolution remained united, strong, and all on the same page. Now, during this time, Batista would constantly run interferences for Triple H and helping him regain the world title at Unforgiven 2004, and he would also help his teammate slash mentor retain the world title on many occasions. So, although Evolution was always credited for making sure that Triple H kept the world title, if you look very closely, on three occasions, Batista was always the main guy who helped Triple H win the world title. Ric Flair and Randy Orton would always run interference, but if you look very closely, you'll find that it was actually Batista who did most of the dirty work and helped Triple H regain the gold on three occasions, as I said. So at Survivor Series 2004, it was booked to be Triple H, Batista, Edge, and Gene Snitsky against Randy Orton, Chris Jericho, Chris Benoit, and Maven. And the winning team would have full control of Raw for 1 month. Each member would get to run the show for 1 week. Now, prior to Survivor Series 2004, something very interesting happened. Edge and Snitsky made it very clear that when their team won, they were coming for Triple H's world title. Triple H yelled at Batista and said, "You better take care of this before I go off on someone." And he left the world title on his chair and Triple H left. Batista sat very quietly, slowly picked up the world title and looked at it. And that to me was a huge moment. So Batista looking at the world title, fans popped. Wasn't a massive pop, but it was a pop nonetheless. Fans were like, "Oh, what's this?" Batista's thinking about the world title. So this was the first real tease we got that Batista could possibly come after Triple H's world title. Nothing was said about it, nothing was addressed. It was just that little moment. And I feel that little moment was kind of like a tryout, just to see how the fans would react to the idea of Batista possibly becoming a babyface and challenging for the world title. The reaction, for the most part, was very positive. So Triple H's team lost at Survivor Series, thus making Randy Orton's team the winners, and they would get to run Raw for one whole week. Each member would have the running of the show to make any kind of match they wanted. Now, the night that Chris Benoit was running Raw, we saw tensions between Triple H and Batista. They had words, and we would see throughout the whole show Batista and Triple H getting very heated in their arguments. Things were getting really out of hand, and fans were thinking, including myself as well, we were thinking, could this be the moment Evolution finally implodes? Could this be the night that Batista finally breaks away from Evolution and goes out on his own? And throughout the whole show, as I said, there were run ins, sneak attacks, arguments. Batista was on a rampage and he screamed at Ric Flair, saying, I'm going to the ring. I'm going to finish what I started. You've got to make a choice. Whose side are you on? Hunter's or mine? I'll see you in the ring. And things got really interesting because it looked like Batista attacked Triple H backstage. We didn't actually see the attack, we just saw Triple H laid out on the table, unconscious, before he was supposed to have a steel cage match against Benoit. That got changed to Edge versus Benoit. So Batista came out to the ring, called out Triple H, and said, I'm not after your world title. Not tonight, anyway. Ooh. Tonight, I'm after you. Fans popped. Fans were chanting Batista's name. And I thought, holy cow, is this really happening? Triple H came out with his t-shirt ripped to shreds, limping, Ric Flair and a doctor, air quote, trying to stop Triple H from coming to the ring. And JR said the line of the night, as far as I'm concerned. I've been waiting for this fight for a long time. Let's get it on. Just beat the hell out of each other. Two bulls colliding. I loved it. Triple H got on the mic and said, Batista, I've got one thing to say to you. Well done. They had us. They fooled us, but it was very clever. Now, this moment's here where it looked like Batista was going to turn on Evolution was obviously all made up, but just the fans reacting very strongly to Batista and the idea that oh he could actually turn on Evolution was very well executed. So obviously there were plans for Batista to turn babyface. At least they were testing the waters. So we had one moment where he picked up the world title. Fans popped. As I said earlier, not the biggest pop in the world, but a pop nonetheless. Fast forward a couple of weeks later, Batista looked like he was going to actually turn on Evolution. Him and Triple H were butting heads all throughout the show, trading insults, having words. So I thought maybe this could happen. So this looked like it was a test run to see how the fans would react. And they reacted very strongly. And I think what made this work was unlike Randy Orton, he was a heel, he gets kicked out of Evolution, and boom, he's a babyface. Not really much of a build up to it, is there? You know, if they took their time, drawn it out a little bit longer, you know, as I said in another edition where I talked about Randy Orton becoming a babyface, you know, the success and failures of that run. If they waited a little bit longer and then Evolution turned on Randy Orton, maybe it could have worked out better, but the whole thing just felt rushed. I think WWE creative and management learned from their mistake. So they didn't turn Batista babyface straight away. They thought, we'll just throw little teases out there, see how the fans react, and then we'll take it from there. They reacted positively, and this would begin a slow build to Batista becoming a babyface and turning on Evolution. Now, the following week, Randy Orton was running the show and he made a battle royal, and winner would get to challenge Triple H for the world title later on in the show. Batista was on fire. He was eliminating everyone, and he eliminated his Evolution teammate Ric Flair, much to the shock and delight of the fans. And Ric Flair lost his shit and said, "What were you doing? Why did you do that for?" And Batista said, "I lost my cool, Rick. I'm sorry. It was an accident." An accident? Are you kidding me? We were supposed to work together. We were supposed to make sure that no one would challenge Hunter for the world title. What the hell? But nothing came of it. Batista was very apologetic and said, "Look, I'm sorry, Rick. It was an accident. It won't happen again." So, all throughout the rest of 2004, there will just be these little teases here and there. And then things got really interesting when we had a beat the clock challenge. Now, the fastest time would enter the Elimination Chamber. Everyone won their matches for the right to go into the Elimination Chamber. Batista had the fastest time ever. He absolutely destroyed Rhino, and he would be the one to enter last. But Triple H did not take kind to that. He said, "You weren't supposed to beat the clock. I was supposed to go in last." And Batista said, "Rhino pissed me off, Hunter. I'm sorry." And Triple H yelled at him very aggressively, "This was real simple. Why can't you follow a plan?" And then Batista got the pop of the night and said, "Hey, now you are starting to piss me off." And the fans absolutely lost it. And throughout the late half of 2004, Ric Flair was the guy keeping Evolution together. He was the one in the middle, trying to play the peacekeeper between Hunter and Batista. It would be the same thing every week. Every time it looked like Triple H and Batista were about to collide, Flair would quickly come in and say, "No, no, 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 calm down, calm down. We're Evolution. All for one for all. We're a unit. Come on, count to 10. Hunter, calm down. Batista, big man, come on. We're Evolution. Let's all get on the same page, okay?" And then they'll just be back to normal. But you could clearly see that the cracks were really starting to show, and Batista was showing more and more signs of being a babyface, and the fans were getting more and more behind Batista every single week. Whenever Batista would come out for a match, the fans would pop. Even though he was still a heel, he was still a member of Evolution, the fans were going nuts for this guy. So it was obvious that he was going to become a huge red hot babyface. But we would just have to wait a little while longer before we would get that big moment. So the main events for New Year's Revolution 2005 was set. It was going to be Triple H, Randy Orton, Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, Edge, and Batista. So this was the big moment that we were all waiting for. Everyone asked the question going into New Year's Revolution 2005 in the Elimination Chamber: is Batista going to be a team player and help Triple H regain the world title? Or is it going to be every man for himself? And is Batista going to turn on Triple H? Randy Orton asked Batista earlier in the show and said, "I'm going to put you on the spot, big man. What's it going to be? Are you going to go out there and help Triple H win that world title? Are you going to kick his ass or are you going to kiss it?" And Randy Orton, of course, made some very good points saying Triple H does not give a damn about you. All he cares about is that world title. I helped him win back the world title in the last Elimination Chamber. Look how he repaid me. And Batista answered the question. You better stop worrying about what I'm going to do to Triple H and start worrying about what I'm going to do to you. But if you want an answer, I'll give you one. If the opportunity comes to become world champion, I'll take it. Ooh. And of course, Triple H took big exception to that. And Batista said, I was just covering our bases. You know, it's all good. Don't worry about it. But if it comes down to it where you get eliminated before I do, then I'm going for the world title. And of course, Triple H looked very concerned and worried. Ric Flair assured him, don't worry, Hunter. Batista's got you back. It's all good. Don't worry about it. Now, another interesting moment in that match. Batista dominated everyone. He eliminated a number of people. And the final three was Triple H, Batista, and Randy Orton. All had been in Evolution. Now, of course, Triple H and Batista were still Evolution teammates by this point. And Randy Orton was an ex-Evolution member. And it was 2 against 1 throughout most of that match. And at one point, Batista was going to Batista bomb Orton. Orton low blows him, hits him with the RKO. Triple H looks like he's about to help him, and he just falls back, and Batista gets eliminated. He would come back and help Triple H regain the world title, and they would have a massive celebration. And then the next night on Raw, Randy Orton would show the footage of Triple H having the opportunity to make the save, but he chose not to. And Batista's eyes, when he took those shades off, he looked like he was going to kill Triple H. The place went mad, and I thought, okay, this is it. This could be it. This could be the moment of truth that we've all been waiting for. But it didn't happen. Triple H kept reassuring Batista, look, I was banged up. I've been in the match for over 40 plus minutes. You know, it will be a huge honour for me to defend the world title against you. It'll be the greatest match ever. And of course, we had a number one contenders match. Triple H indirectly cost Batista a number one contenders match. Batista was furious. And then he would enter the Royal Rumble 2005. And this is where things got even more interesting. Batista won the Royal Rumble 2005 match, and he earned the right to challenge the champion at WrestleMania 21. Now, the question is, which champion would he challenge? World Heavyweight Champion Triple H on Raw, his Evolution teammate, or the WWE Champion JBL on SmackDown? And this is where things got even more interesting because Batista, for over a month, kept everyone guessing, will he go to SmackDown or would he stay on Raw? And Triple H would put ideas in Batista's head and say, look, you could make a lot of money going to SmackDown. You could beat JBL, I think you should go to SmackDown. Batista would say, well, I don't know really, I'll see. But, you know, I don't know yet. I still haven't made my mind up yet. And we would see various promo clips from JBL bad mouthing Batista, and it looked like Batista was going to SmackDown. He even made an appearance on SmackDown and attacked JBL and laid out the whole cabinet after a limousine with bullhorns tried to run over Batista. And during this time, the tension between Triple H and Batista was at an all-time high. And even though they were still teammates in Evolution, it looked like, okay, something's going to happen, but we'll see, really. And then Batista would make an appearance at No Way Out 2005, kick ass, lay out the cabinet again, staring down John Cena, and it looked like Batista made his decision. But we wouldn't get the official answer until the next night on Raw on the February 21st edition. And Batista was nowhere to be seen. The contract signing was coming up, and everyone was concerned. Where is he? Why isn't he here yet? And then Triple H revealed to Ric Flair that he was the one responsible for Batista almost getting run over, putting the tapes of JBL, you know, all these things. And then, while this was all going on, who's standing there hearing all of this? Batista. So, Batista had finally heard the real truth about Evolution, and more specifically Triple H and Ric Flair. And now the fans were wondering even more what's going to happen? What is Batista going to do? What decision is he going to make? So Evolution would come out, all looking like they were on the same page. Batista didn't say a single word, as both Raw GM Eric Bischoff and SmackDown GM Theodore Long both made their pitches to Batista, giving very good reasons as to why Batista should go to their respective shows and challenge for the title at WrestleMania 21. And Triple H would put a pitch of his own to Batista and would go as far as to say, we could run this entire company. Me as the World Heavyweight Champion, you as the WWE Champion. It's 1985. Ric Flair is the NWA World Champion. What if Arn Anderson was the WWE Champion? The Four Horsemen would have ran the whole business, but it never happened. Fast forward, D-Generation X at the top of their game, in their prime. Shawn Michaels is the WWE Champion. What if I was the WCW Champion? DX could have ran the whole business, but it never happened. We have an opportunity to make history, big man, and I know you'll make the right decision. I know what you've been wanting to do for a long time. And Batista, in a very iconic moment, would hold a Raw contract and a SmackDown contract. And he would get the mic after being completely silenced, and he would quietly say to Triple H, Hunter, I've known what I wanted to do for a very long time. And he would put the Raw contract down. The fans were shouting, no, no, no. He's holding his thumbs up, and then it turns into the infamous thumbs down in the exact same manner that Triple H delivered the thumbs down to Randy Orton months earlier that led to him getting kicked out of Evolution. Triple H and Ric Flair looked on in complete shock and disbelief, and Batista attacked both Triple H and Ric Flair. Batista would throw Ric Flair out of the ring and then deliver a powerbomb to Triple H through the table, thus declaring that he was staying on Raw and challenging him for the world title. Batista was now out of Evolution and was a babyface. Now, when Randy Orton turned babyface, it was a disaster. The fans weren't clamoring for Randy Orton to be a face. It was very hard to buy into him as a good guy. Just didn't work. WWE creative and management learned their lesson from that mistake. They took their time with Batista and did an amazing job in slowly building it up, giving little teases, making the fans really wait for it, and boom, it delivered and it paid off. And the build up to WrestleMania 21 in the main event, Triple H versus Batista for the world title, was a thing of beauty. And Batista was now a red hot babyface. The animal was finally unleashed. And huge props has to go to Triple H for putting over Batista as strong as he did. It was his idea to have the slow build, the slow burn. Vince wanted it to be as quick as possible, much earlier, but Triple H very smartly said, no, let's take our time. Let's really build this up and make it even bigger. Let's build this match up to be one of the biggest matches ever in WrestleMania history, and we can make a star out of Batista. Wow, unbelievable. And to see Batista standing there with the thumbs down, holding the SmackDown contract, was just an iconic moment. And it was one of those special moments where Batista was fully embraced by the fans. Even though he hadn't turned face yet, the fans really got behind him in a big way. And he didn't say much. And that's the beauty of it. He didn't say a lot. He said a few things, but they kept his words to a minimum. They let his actions speak louder than his words. And I think that's what made it work. So, in terms of the success and failures of Batista turning on Evolution, a complete success. 100%. The build up, the payoff, everything about it, it just worked wonders. And Batista would not only go on to become the World Heavyweight Champion, but he would become one of the biggest and most popular stars in the Ruthless Aggression era. And it could all be traced back to Batista turning on Evolution. Well done, well executed, and absolutely fantastic. And the build up to it, the story, everything about it wasn't rushed. It made you want to tune into Raw every week. Oh, is this going to be it? Is this going to be the moment that Batista finally turns on Evolution? But it never happened. But they would always leave you just enough to make you come back for more. So that was a very clever move on their part. But the whole thing, a complete success. No failures whatsoever. This was one of those special times, as I said, that they took their time, it worked, and the payoff was magic. Nothing bad to say about it whatsoever. Unbelievable stuff, and hard to believe that it was 20 years ago that moment took place. And look at what Batista achieved after Evolution. You know, winning the world title multiple times, and then moving on into Hollywood and achieving massive worldwide success. You know, playing Drax in the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, two back-to-back Avengers movies. You know, James Bond, Spectre, Blade Runner. You know, oh my God, the success Batista achieved after Evolution and WWE was phenomenal. So it definitely paid off in a big way. And it can all be traced back to this iconic moment when Batista delivered that thumbs down to Ric Flair and Triple H and turned on Evolution and became one of the biggest baby faces ever. So that's going to be it from me. I'm going to wrap this up now. What was your thoughts on Batista turning on Evolution in 2005? Did you enjoy it? Do you think they did a great job in building up to that moment? Do you think they did a really good job in telling that story? And did you look at it as a complete success or complete failure? And what was your favourite moments leading up to Batista turning on Evolution? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Wrestling Discussion Series. So until then, take care, everybody, and stay safe. And once again, as always, much appreciated. Thanks for listening.